Welcome to Sakshi TV special immigration show with attorney Dr. Srinivas Kaveti from Kaveti Law Firms. Dr. Srinivas Kaveti is an international lawyer, and Kaveti Law Firms needs no introduction. But if you need any kind of legal advice, please contact the attorney directly or log on to their website sri@kavetilaw.com. Please tune in to ask your questions. If you're an immigration attorney and would like to join us on a special show, email us at usa@sakshi.com or call 866-725-7441. Before we begin the show, please note that the information provided on this show is not a legal advice and for general information purposes only. Sakshi TV or its agents are not responsible for any use of the information. Without any further delay, let's welcome Dr. Srinivas Kaveti Garu onto our show. Hello, Kaveti Garu.
Hello, Nitya. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's great to have you back on our show, Kaveti Garu.
Thank you. Same here to, I'm happy to be on live.
Before we get onto the topic, can you please introduce a little bit about yourself and your law firm to our new audience who are watching the show for the first time?
We are, in New York and Texas also. We are starting offices in Vijayawada and Guntur, Tirupati this time. I'll be in India on April 6th. We already have an office in Hyderabad, Karimnagar, and New Delhi, and in London as well. So the way we do it is because of my legal education in all these countries, in London, Australia, America, and India. So we advise kind of clients in all respects of family law, immigration law, and corporate law, intellectual property, and in terms of cross-country jurisdictional issues. It's mostly on private international law, not on public international law. So we get to see clients with people having problems with two countries, jurisdictions, and if they have any contracts to be drafted between two countries, exporter, importer, or seller and a buyer in two different countries, and to draft a contract under the UNICEF rule, we do that because of my master's in international trade law. And in terms of, we also assist a lot of exporters and importers, and we also help a lot of, professionals in terms of IT guys and lawyers, accountants, doctors, pharmacists in migrating to different parts of the world. And we also do extensively UK law. We also get clients from UK in terms of divorces, in terms of work permits. Sometimes they also ask us to do some opinion letters. In terms of expert opinion letters, we also do that. And in terms of service of process and discovery, we do a lot of due diligence about the spouses or about the companies, whether they are bona fide or not. So, in terms of, we also cater to the North Indians because of our presence in Delhi. And we also go to, Punjab and Gujarat. We also have clients and lawyers network all over North India so that we can assist people when they have international issues. In this 15, 20 minutes of episode, I'll not be able to touch, but we mostly handle anything all over the world. And when we don't have lawyers, we associate ourselves with European lawyers or Canadian lawyers or Australian lawyers or UK lawyers, and we assist the client because it's easy when we talk to the lawyers. Instead of client calling them, they will not even come on the phone. We also help a lot of students in terms of if they get in trouble by, drink driving, or if they got in trouble by stealing something, shoplifting, and some people get in trouble with, moral turpitude offenses, like any problem with sex, things like that. And many students, they lose their immigration status. We also assist them for reinstatement of their student status. We assist people from, I would say, every walk of life. And if we don't have expertise, we partner with lawyers. And we also help people, in terms of bail hearings and in terms of immigration courts, in terms of criminal courts, bail bond hearings, and even traffic offenses. People get in touch with us. They are drink driving and the traffic violations they have. We also work with some traffic lawyers, even though it's not a big money, but sometimes when people get arrested, what happens, especially when you're in the West, your arrest record remains in the system for 20 years. And if you have an arrest record, you will not have your H-1B renewed, or you will not get your green card or even citizenship, or sometimes even from visit, or sometimes from student visa to H-1B, they might not get it. And sometimes even they will not get employment if they have an arrest record. So we also assist clients in sealing the arrest record. What does it mean? It's called expungement. We work with different lawyers in the country to help the clients when the case is dismissed. We also help them to expunge the records. When they expunge the records, when they seal the records, when they go out of the country, when they come back into US, it doesn't come up with the ICE, it doesn't come with the border security, force, so that they can come and go. And even it also helps them in migrating to other countries. When they take an FBI report, it doesn't show up. So we also work with a lot of lawyers in expunging the records. And that's a specialized area. And in terms of getting the cases dismissed, or sometimes getting some good deal for them, clients. For example, we had clients, one client had just stolen $100 worth of goods, and we assisted the client in dismissing the case by making we work with some lawyers, criminal defense attorneys. They talk to the prosecution and get the case dismissed. And they have to be, good in law for 90 days. Some states have 1 year statutory requirement. Once they're good to go, their case will be dismissed, and that should be sealed. And the record should be sealed. That's called expungement. That's a legal term used in law, in criminal law. And we work with some lawyers so that gets sealed, so that it's a clean beginning again. Things like that. It's not that day to day the immigration lawyers does this, but we also help them. And many times when clients get in that situation, they also approach us for getting an expert opinion letter when they go to the US Embassy for getting an H-1B, or for renewing their F-1 status, or even for getting the green cards overseas when their wives are trying for H-4. So they take legal opinion letters from my firm. Our chief partner is also an administrative judge, and he also provides certain opinion letters. So we provide opinion letters like that. They take those opinion letters and they get visas. And this attorney, who's principal attorney, is a retired judge, so he's got a credibility. So we give opinion letters to these clients. So when they're coming into the country at the port of entry, when they're asked to come for a secondary inspection, they show our letter. And they've been successful. A lot of clients, they come in. And these are very gray areas where a lot of lawyers don't want to get involved, and they don't intend to go extra mile to help the clients. But we do it all the time. We do it all the time. And that makes us, our firm, I would say, special. And we are there for clients with any issue, for students or H-1B guys, green cards, citizens, and people want to migrate to Canada, we help them. People want to migrate to England, we help them for tier visas. And people, having issues in India. Let's say sometimes husband and wife, they get married, they go back, and wife goes and files a complaint on her husband. It's 498A, some dowry harassment cases. We also handle those cases in India. Sometimes clients also have some lookout notices where they cannot go back to India. We go to high courts and Supreme Court. We get the cancellation of lookout notices. So we do a lot of things which other lawyers will not venture out to do because of our firm. Our firm is having lawyers from Africa. We have lawyers from Cameroon, Ghana. We have lawyers from Pakistan, Bangladesh, India. So we have conglomerate of lawyers from different parts of the world, and even English lawyers, and lawyers from America, lawyers from from New Jersey and from New York. So we have different types of international lawyers, and we work with them, and we take assistance from them. That's where, and even drafting wills for people all over the world, and even doing the trusts for people from other states. We also do trust and estate planning. I mean, it's a complicated area, but we also, our firm also works with other lawyers in doing trusts and estates. And that's when people die without a will, what happens? If mother, father is traveling in a car, they die. What happens if they don't have a will or they don't have a trust? Will the property goes to the children or will the government takes away? Let's say if the husband and wife are on H1B, they bought a house, suddenly they die in an accident. What happens to the property? It goes to the government. It's called as cheat. So we also handle such complex situations, and we also assist a lot of clients who are criminal, victims of a crime. We also help them in getting some money for the victims of crime from the federal government and from the state. We do assist them. I mean, nobody wants to help these guys, but in the past we have helped so many, and even people who are H1s are being revoked because their employer filed multiple applications, and no fault of an employee. Now their visas has been revoked. So in such situations, our firm has helped getting a TN visa. It's T visa. It's called T visa. They are victims of a crime of H1Bs. We have assisted them. So we assist across the country and across the globe whatever we can. And that's the reason I can be able to elaborate in such a 15-20 minutes of our episode. And I guess you've already given me a questions on the family law today. We'll be discussing on grounds of divorce, how they can get maintenance, how the children can get child support, child's custody, and what is the separation, what is the divorce, and all of that we will cover. This will be useful for even battered spouse syndrome, even for people, when they come to America with their husbands, and husbands are troubling the wives, and how they can get a work permit for the battered spouse, a U visa, all of that we will cover in this episode. I mean, it's for you
Kavati
now.
Garu,
Question.
before we get into the topic, are there any new immigration updates that we are supposed to know?
Well, again, because the H1B is again closed, I guess, like all other lawyers are doing the same topic over and over, except some raising the fees and not filing multiple applications. And if they do, they will have a criminal prosecution. Other than that, I don't see much. And they've increased the fees. And other than that, I don't see much. And as it is, a lot of lawyers are also doing this. A lot of immigration experts are doing shows on updates on H1, updates on student visa. A lot of lawyers are doing on immigration law. I think it's wise to do something for women. And what are the grounds for divorce? I mean, now the question hour is yours. You can ask me questions, I'll answer you.
So let's start with what are the grounds for the divorce in the states and how does the divorce process works, Kavati Garu?
Interesting question. In US Constitution, one must understand family law is a state law. And if you compare this with India or England, in India we have only one law all over the country. If somebody wants to get a divorce, there is a Divorce Act, and you can get divorced under the Hindu law, we can get divorced under the Muslim law and Special Marriage Act. But in terms of America, we have 50 states. And the family law, because the America was ruled by Spanish and French and English, and they have their own respective family laws because Spanish had their own influence, French had their own influence, and English had their own influence. And if you see sometimes some local, Mayan civilization and local natives have their own family laws and culture and religious beliefs. So if you see family law, it's a state law, and 50 states have got its own 50 requirements. So I mean, when I went to law school in New York, they only teach us what is a New York family law, grounds of divorce in New York. And in general, I would say there are two types of divorces in America. One is fault divorce, and second is called no fault divorce. We never heard of this fault divorce and no fault divorce in India. And in England, it's there, in Canada, it's there, in Australia, it's there. What is the meaning of fault divorce? So when two husband and wife, when they're trying to file a divorce, they should find fault, whether husband fault or a wife's fault. In America, they don't have to show any fault. I am not interested in living with you. I have irreconcilable differences. We have so much of differences in eating food, in our day-to-day communication, in our lifestyle. You like hot, I like cold. and you like day, I like night. You like hot music, heavy metal music, I like soft music. I don't believe in God, you believe in God. Anything which is irreconcilable differences, I can go and file for divorce. I don't have to show any 9 grounds like India that you're committed an adultery, whether you change the religion. Well, there are, there are fault divorces too. If somebody goes to jail in America, or somebody ends up being insane, and somebody has a mental issue, and there are certain grounds. There are also fault grounds, and there are no fault grounds. Most of the times in America, they file divorces under no fault. I don't have to show. So those are the two types of divorces.
Okay.
And each state has its own requirements. Some states, they say, you can stay away from each other, not having a marital life for 6 months, we can get divorced. Some states says 90 days, some says 1 year, depends upon state to state. So that statute of time where you have lived separately differs from one state to another state. So, in general, all over the country, I would say you have to live separately. You can also live under the same roof. You live under the same roof, which is not heard in our country. You can still live in the same roof. You're staying in a bedroom. Wife is staying in a bedroom. Husband is sleeping in the drawing room, TV room, and they have children. They are living under the same roof. They don't have no marital life. They can still get divorced under the same roof. It's a very interesting law. So those are the grounds of divorce.
What are the legal requirements for a legal separation instead of a divorce, Kaveti?
See, sometimes people believe in being married. They don't want to be separated for some religious reasons. For example, if you see people coming from Israel or Jewish background or Muslim, or there's some religions, they don't believe in a divorce. They want to be separated. They want to have their own lives. So legal separation, some states have 6 months separation, some states have 90 days. They have to be separated. What is the definition of separation? It's not that you're separating physically, you're separating mentally. You can be living in the same house, as I gave you an example. Wife and children are living in the bedroom, and you're sleeping in the sofa outside in the TV room. So you're separated, you're not having a marital life. That means you're not living like husband and wife. That means you're not sharing the bed, you're not having, marital life. So that could be a legal separation. You can go to court, as the court we want to be separated. That means you want to have separate businesses, separate accounts, file separate tax returns, take care of separate bills, and the judge will give you an order saying, okay, you're separated now. I mean, the husband will not bother the wife with whom she's going, and the wife will not bother with whom he's going. So things like that, she's going. So things like that. So, and they don't want to be separated because of the maybe children reason, and because of culturally they don't believe in divorces, so they can be separated too. But this separation will lead to a divorce. If you're separated for more than 1 year, that could be a ground for divorce as well. So the judge will automatically say, okay, you've been separated for 1 year, then that will be a ground for divorce.
How is property division handled during the process of divorce, Kaveti?
Okay.
Do they
It's a
include the assets during the marriage and also before the marriage?
okay. It's a very interesting area. It's called in law in America. It's a very interesting law. One need to understand property law. If you see the common law, there are three types of property ownerships. One is called joint tenants, tenancy in common. Third is called tenancy by entirety. It's a very interesting hybrid doctrine in America in property jurisprudence. We don't have that in our country. We only have joint property or tenants in common and joint property, joint tenants. In America, it's called tenancy by entirety. What is the meaning of tenancy by entirety? Husband and wife own a property entirely together, whether husband invests or wife invests. When they separate, there are two types of properties. Again, one is called a separate property, and second is called marital property. Any property acquired by both the spouses during the marriage, it's a marital property. At the time of division, equitable division of the property, the husband and wife divides the marital property. And the husband could have a separate property for the marriage, and wife could have a separate property before the marriage. So the separate property will be considered separate, and only the marital property will be distributed equitably, not equally. Don't get confused between equitable and equal. Equitable means the husband and wife, there is a principle, there is a calculation. If you know what is invested by whom, and who is the who was taking care of the children, who was helping the husband, or the husband is helping the wife. They take so many factors in dividing the property. Who gets the child custody, whether the marital home where the wife is staying or the husband is staying, whether the children are staying. There are so many factors the judge will consider in this country when they equitably distribute the property. It's a very complex process. And I will not be able to address that in this 10 minutes of episode. But this is an overview. But many times, husbands they say, "Oh, I invested the house. I came on an H-1B. You're staying. You've not worked all your life. You've been just taking care of the children. So I invested. I bought this car. I bought this furniture. When we go both get divorced, I will get everything." That's wrong. She will also be given a equitable share, even though she has not invested anything. That's called tenancy by entirety. She also gets shares of any business. She also gets money in the bank account. She also gets money in the pension. She also get a portion of the house if they bought properties in overseas, if they bought properties in America, if they even do the discovery. Somebody's invented something. Even in that, she gets a share or he gets a share. And for example, they bought a property and the property's value has increased tremendously. So even if when it is interest, there is equity and there's an equity. And let's say they bought a painting and today the painting value has gone up. So the husband bought everything. And even sometimes they buy chandeliers or some antiques items. When they're sold during the equitable distribution, wife gets equitably, not equally. Don't get confused again, equitably. So that's called law of equity applies. There are a lot of legal equitable maxims we learn in equity, law of equity. They are applied. So it's a very complex area. But I want the Indian women who are coming to America, or even any overseas woman, they're coming to America, they get a share in the husband's property, even though they have not contributed anything financially.
So, Kaveti garu, what factors are considered in determining the alimony and child support payments?
They see age of the parties, they see education of the parties, they see financially who is earning what, they will see who was the breadwinner, they will see their educational background, they will see whether the wife or husband did they acquire more knowledge and skill during the marriage, and they will see whether the health of the parties, sometimes the health of husband, health of wife, sometimes health of children as well. And they will also see whether are there any dependents on the husband. Let's say if the father, mother, if he's supporting, or if the woman is supporting her mother, father, or any siblings, they will see so many factors in making a decision when the judge applies these things, when determining the child support, or even spousal maintenance, or even division of property, or even whether the courts have to award any lawyers' fees, and so many things. Conglomerate. It's a very specialized area. There are forensic audits are done. They take the help of accountants, and they do a lot of discovery between parties. Sometimes husband or wife they send money to back home without the knowledge of other spouse, and the courts will also and the other parties will also do discovery. A discovery is a procedure in civil procedure code in India too, and in America we have a federal civil procedure code and a state civil procedure code. In both the procedural codes, they have discovery process. They go and discover, and they get basically information about the parties, everything, before the judges make a decision.
And how is child custody determined in cases like domestic violence or abuse?
When the courts see that the husband or a wife, if they are perpetrating domestic violence on the children, sometimes even mothers are there, they have a problem, they neglect the children. Sometimes they also become the postnatal depression they have, and sometimes women also become very abusive to the children. I mean, these are all psychological issues. They also look into that. And sometimes the husbands, they're abusive, they drink and they hit the children or they hit the wife, domestic violence. And sometimes they also neglect their wife and children. They look at all those factors, and they also do sometimes evaluation psychologically. Sometimes they pick up information from neighbors. They also look at their background, everything. So they look at all these factors when they're making a decision of whether the custody should go to mother or father, and who is the breadwinner, whether if the custody is given to mother, can she support the children or not? Is she educated? Is she employable tomorrow? So tomorrow, let's say she has come 11th and 12th girl, she has come into America, she has children, but tomorrow she doesn't know how to even speak English or she has to pick up some skills. So the courts will impose on the husband saying, okay, you have to pay some money so that she upgrades her skills so that she'll be employable, and give the money. The courts will impose child support and maintenance and some sort of alimony so that she can get on with life. So there are many factors, but unfortunately, the family laws are so expensive in America. People end up spending $25,000 to $250,000 in all this process. That's all we tell clients, that if both the parties sit and discuss and settle, that's better instead of paying big law firms hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the money goes from the marital property.
And coming to the visitation rights, Kaveti Garu, how are these considered and how come the non-custodial parents get the rights?
Well, the custodial and non-custodial, as you rightly said, custodial, that means the custody of the children are there with the custodial parent. And non-custodial parents sometimes, I know husbands or wives, they could be drug addicts or they are alcoholics or they consume smoking or, alcohol, even womanizing, or even they go to, casinos and gambling. If there's those issues, or even the children neglected, or child abuse sometimes, men child abuse children, it could be girls or boys. So they see all of this and they will be given a visitation with some, social worker being around. So those factors are also seen by the judges when they allowing the children to be seen by the non-custodial parent, because the law says the courts are seeing the best interest of the child. Whatever is the best for the children, the courts will determine in this country.
Can grandparents or other relatives get the visitation rights?
Answer is no. Constitution of America said, not like India, that I want to come and see my grandparents. Only the grandparents have right to see the children when the children are not having father and mother, or they have problems with their mother and father, divorces or stuff like that. Other than that, there's no right. The American Constitution said it is went to the Supreme Court of America. The court decided it is a choice of father and mother. The grandparents don't have right to come and visit. Only when when the children, grandchildren, and their children, I mean father, mother, when they agree, they have a right to come and visit, but not as if a right.
As it's a very vast topic, Kaveti Garu, let's continue this in our next session.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us on our show. Thank you, viewers, for tuning in. You're watching Sakshi TV with me, Nitya, signing off.
Thank you, Anitya. Thanks for having me.